Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Taeguk, staring at the massive alien station before them. The structure was bigger than Earth's moon, spinning slowly around a neutron star that blazed with deadly radiation. Strange ships moved around it like insects around a bright lamp. "Captain, we are getting a message from the station," said Communication Officer Park Min. Her voice was steady, but Lee Jun could see her hands shaking slightly. This was humanity's first real meeting with aliens, and everyone was nervous. "Put it through," Lee Jun ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect English but with an odd musical tone. "Earth vessel Taeguk, you are welcome at Assembly Station Omega 7. Please follow the guidance beams to Docking Bay 847. The Prime Speaker awaits your arrival." Lee Jun nodded to his pilot. "Take us in, Lieutenant Kim Seo. Nice and easy." The Taeguk moved forward, following streams of blue light that led them toward the station. As they got closer, Lee Jun could see the alien architecture was unlike anything humans had ever built. The metal seemed to flow like water, forming impossible curves and shapes that hurt to look at directly. Ambassador Park Hana joined Lee Jun at the viewing window. She was Earth's best diplomat, chosen for this mission because she could stay calm under pressure. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore Earth's formal diplomatic uniform. "Are you ready for this?" Lee Jun asked her. Park Hana smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "As ready as anyone can be for meeting beings from another world. Dr. Kim Tae has briefed me on what to expect, but honestly nobody knows what we are walking into." Dr. Kim Tae was their science officer, and the person who knew most about alien technology on Earth. He had spent years studying the few alien artifacts that had crashed on Earth over the decades. Most people did not know about these crashes, but the world's governments had been quietly preparing for this day. The docking process took an hour. The alien station systems guided the Taeguk into a bay that adjusted its size to fit their ship perfectly. When they were secure, the bay filled with breathable air and gravity that felt normal to humans. "Life support is good," reported Dr. Kim Tae, checking his instruments. "The aliens have adjusted everything to match Earth conditions. They really did their homework on us." A delegation of 3 humans prepared to leave the ship. Ambassador Park Hana would lead the talks. Captain Lee Jun would provide military insight. Dr. Kim Tae would analyze any technology they encountered. The rest of the crew would stay on the ship, ready to leave quickly if needed. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond it stood 3 alien beings unlike anything in Earth's worst nightmares or best science fiction movies. The first alien looked like a giant crystal that had learned to walk. Light moved through its body in complex patterns, and when it spoke, the crystal faces vibrated to create sound. This was Prime Speaker Vorthak, leader of the Galactic Assembly. The second alien was more familiar in shape, with 4 arms and 2 legs. But its skin was purple and covered in scales that changed color as it moved. Dr. Kim Tae whispered that this might be how it communicated emotions. The third alien was the strangest. It looked like a cloud of silver dust that somehow held together in a roughly humanoid shape. When it moved, parts of it would drift away and then flow back like metal liquid. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," Prime Speaker Vorthak said. The crystals in its body chimed like bells as it spoke. "I am Prime Speaker Vorthak of the Galactic Assembly. With me are Sub-Commander Hexler of the Hegemony and Mind Link Silthan of the Collective. We welcome humanity to the greater community of intelligent life." Ambassador Park Hana stepped forward and bowed slightly, a gesture that seemed to please the aliens. "Thank you for welcoming us, Prime Speaker. I am Ambassador Park Hana of Earth. We are honored by this meeting." "The honor is ours," Vorthak replied. "It has been 847 cycles since we last encountered a new species capable of interstellar travel. Your people show great promise." The aliens led the human delegation through corridors that seemed to change shape as they walked. The walls showed scenes from dozens of different worlds, each more beautiful and strange than the last. Dr. Kim Tae tried to record everything, but his equipment kept malfunctioning near the alien technology. They entered a vast chamber with a dome that showed the stars outside. In In the center was a table that looked like it was made from a single piece of black stone, perfectly smooth and reflecting the starlight above. "Please sit," Vorthak said. Chairs rose from the floor, perfectly shaped for human bodies. Ambassador Park Hana sat carefully, followed by Captain Lee Jun and Dr. Kim Tae. The aliens arranged themselves on the opposite side of the table. "Let us begin with what you need to know about the galaxy," Vorthak said. Light patterns in its body became more complex, almost hypnotic. The Galactic Assembly has brought peace and order to 847 different species across 50,000 years. We have ended wars, prevented extinctions, and created the greatest civilization the universe has ever seen. Subcommander Hexalar leaned forward, its scales shifting to a warm golden color. "Your species is young but shows potential. Humans are adaptable, creative, and surprisingly resilient. These traits are valuable." Mind-Link Silthan's cloud form shifted and swirled. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We have observed your people for some time. Your capacity for rapid technological advancement is remarkable. In less than 100 cycles, you went from crude flying machines to interstellar travel." Ambassador Park Hana felt a chill. "You have been watching us?" "Of course," Vorthak said, and somehow the crystal being managed to sound surprised. "We monitor all developing species. It is necessary to determine when they are ready for contact and integration into the assembly." Dr. Kim Tae leaned closer to Captain Lee Jun and whispered, "Integration. They keep using that word." Vorthak continued, "Which brings us to why you are here. The assembly extends to humanity an invitation to join our great civilization. You will receive protection from hostile forces, access to technologies beyond your current understanding, and the opportunity to trade with hundreds of advanced species." The Prime Speaker gestured, and a holographic document appeared above the table. It was written in perfect English, which somehow made it more unsettling rather than less. "This is the Standard Integration Treaty," Vorthak explained. "Every species that joins the assembly signs this agreement. It outlines the rights and responsibilities of membership." Ambassador Park Hana studied the document carefully. The first few pages seemed reasonable enough. Protection from aggressive species, technology sharing, trade agreements, cultural exchange programs. It all sounded beneficial. But as she read deeper, certain phrases began to stand out. Biological resource allocation, population management, protocols, specialized service assignments. Dr. Kim Tae was reading over her shoulder and she felt him tense up behind her. "Prime Speaker," Park Hana said carefully, "could you explain what is meant by biological resource allocation?" The crystal being's light patterns shifted slightly. "Ah, yes. Each member species contributes to the assembly according to their unique capabilities. Some species excel at manufacturing, others at research, others at various forms of service. And humans?" Captain Lee Jun asked. His military training had taught him to spot evasive answers. "Humans show exceptional adaptability and resilience," Subcommander Hexler said, scales now shifting to a cooler blue color. "Your people would be assigned to roles that make use of these strengths." Mind-Link Silthan's voice seemed to whisper directly into their minds. "The treaty specifies that 90% of your population would be relocated to serve the greater good of the assembly. The remaining 10% would remain on Earth to maintain your cultural heritage and continue breeding programs." The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of alien technology. Ambassador Park Hana felt her mouth go dry. "Breeding programs? To ensure a steady supply of your unique biological capabilities," Vorthak explained, as if discussing the weather. "This is standard for all member species. The needs of the many must come before the desires of the few." Dr. Kim Tae could not stay quiet any longer. "You are talking about slavery." The aliens looked genuinely confused. Subcommander Hexalar's scales shifted through several colors quickly. "Slavery? We do not understand this concept. You would be fed, housed, protected, and given meaningful work. Your species would be preserved and honored as valuable members of the assembly." But not free, Captain Lee Jun said quietly. Freedom is a primitive concept, MindLink Silthon replied. What is freedom compared to purpose? What is individual choice compared to the glory of serving something greater than yourself? Vorthak's crystal body brightened. No species in recorded history has ever refused assembly membership. The benefits far outweigh any perceived costs. You would be foolish to decline. Ambassador Park Hana looked at her companions. Dr. Kim Tae's face was pale but determined. Captain Lee Jun's jaw was set and the expression she had learned meant he was preparing for a fight. She turned back to the aliens. We need time to consider your offer and discuss it with our government. Of course, Vorthak said. Take all the time you need. However, we should mention that this offer comes with certain time constraints. Other hostile species in this region of SP. The Tiguk arrived at Earth's orbital station 3 days after leaving the alien assembly. Captain Lee Jun had never been so happy to see the blue and white planet below. After meeting the crystalline aliens and their terrifying treaty, Earth looked like paradise. Ambassador Park Hana wasted no time. Within hours of docking, she was in a secure transport heading to Geneva, where the United Earth Council waited in emergency session. The most powerful leaders on the planet had gathered to hear what humanity's first alien contact had revealed. President Cho Min stood at the head of the great council chamber. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice could command attention from anyone. Behind her, flags from every nation on Earth hung in perfect rows. The session is now in order, President Cho Min announced. Ambassador Park, please tell us what happened out there. Ambassador Park Hana stepped to the center of the chamber. Around her sat representatives from every major government on Earth. She could see fear and hope mixed on their faces. Everyone knew this moment would change humanity forever. The aliens call themselves the Galactic Assembly, Park Hana began. They have controlled most of the galaxy for 50,000 years. They have 847 member species, and they want to add humanity as number 848. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some sounded excited, others worried. What are the terms? Asked Chancellor Wei from the Asian Federation. Park Hana's expression darkened. They want 90% of humanity to become what they call biological resources. The other 10% would stay on Earth for breeding purposes. They were very clear about this. The chamber erupted in angry voices. President Cho Min had to bang her gavel several times to restore order. Slavery, said Prime Minister Jackson from the North American Union. They want to make us slaves. They do not see it that way, Park Hana continued. To them, this is normal. Every species that joins the assembly gives up most of their population to serve the greater good. They think we should be grateful for the opportunity. Dr. Yoon Soo stood up from the science section. She was Earth's leading expert on alien life, though until now that had been mostly theoretical. Ambassador, did you learn anything about these other member species? Dr. Kim Tae gathered some information, Park Hana replied. What he found is disturbing. Dr. Kim Tae walked to the front of the chamber carrying a portable computer. I was able to scan some of their database while we were on the station. The assembly has absorbed hundreds of species over the millennia. In every case, the pattern is the same. He activated a holographic display that showed star maps and alien worlds. First contact, integration treaty, population transfer, and then cultural extinction. The original populations are scattered across assembly space, working in specialized roles. Most never see their homeworlds again. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Show them the Kethmari example, Park Hana said quietly. Doctor, Kim Tae changed the display. It showed a beautiful ocean world covered in floating cities. This is Kethmari Prime, home to an aquatic species that was contacted 800 years ago. Their population was 12 billion when they joined the assembly. The display changed to show the same world in the present day. The oceans were empty except for automated mining platforms. A few small domes sat on artificial islands. Current population, 50,000. They maintain the water processing facilities for the assembly's industrial worlds. Their children are born in artificial environments and trained from birth for their specialized roles. They have no culture left except what the assembly allows them to remember. The silence in the chamber was deafening. General Kang Ho stood up from the military section. He was a tall man with scars on his face from the Korean Unification War, 30 years earlier. What happens if we refuse? They made that clear too, Park Hana said. They told us other hostile species in this area have noticed Earth's emergence into space. Without assembly protection, they said we face certain extinction within a few years. A threat disguised as a warning, General Kang Ho said grimly. President Cho Min stood up. General, in your professional opinion, could we defend ourselves against this galactic assembly? General Kang Ho was quiet for a long moment, thinking carefully. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their ships are bigger and more advanced. By any normal measure, we would lose badly in a direct fight. The chamber began to buzz with worried conversations. However, General Kang Ho continued, raising his voice. Normal measures may not apply here. We have been preparing for hostile contact since the 2090s, after the first confirmed alien crash in Siberia. Our defensive strategies are built on the assumption that any aliens we meet will be more advanced than us. Defense Minister Park Young stepped forward. Project Deep Shield has been building hidden installations throughout the solar system for 40 years. We have weapons and bases the assembly does not know about. Our entire military doctrine is based on asymmetric warfare. Asymmetric warfare? Asked the Brazilian representative. Fighting in ways the enemy does not expect, General Kang Ho explained. Guerrilla tactics, surprise attacks, using their advantages against them. Throughout human history, smaller forces have defeated larger ones by refusing to fight on the enemy's terms. Dr. Yoon Soo raised her hand. General, I have been analyzing the biological data we gathered about assembly species. They have one major weakness that may help us. What is that? They are specialized. Each species in the assembly has been bred and trained for specific functions over thousands of years. They are very good at what they do, but they have lost the ability to adapt quickly to new situations. Humans still have that adaptability. Engineer Chief Nam Jun stood up from the technical section. Dr. Yoon is right. I have been studying the alien technology samples Dr. Kim brought back. Their systems are incredibly advanced but also incredibly complex. They rely on perfection and predictability. Human technology is cruder, but it is also more flexible and easier to repair under combat conditions. The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued for negotiating better terms with the assembly. Others insisted that any negotiation would lead to eventual surrender. Finally, President Cho Min called for order. We have heard all the arguments, now we must decide. Do we accept the Assembly's treaty and preserve some portion of humanity as a subject species? Or do we reject it and face the consequences? The vote was closer than many expected, but clear enough. 847 votes to reject the treaty, 312 to accept, 91 abstentions. President Cho Min looked around the chamber. The decision is made. Ambassador Park, you will return to the assembly station with our answer. Captain Lee Jun will escort you with a full military honor guard. 3 days later, the Taeguk departed Earth orbit again, this time accompanied by 6 other human vessels. The small fleet looked tiny compared to the alien station, but they flew in perfect formation. Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge, watching the alien station grow larger on the screen. Are you ready for this, Ambassador? Park Hana nodded, though her hands were shaking slightly. As ready as anyone can be to tell the most powerful civilization in the galaxy that humanity chooses freedom over safety. The docking proceeded exactly as before. The same 3 alien representatives met them in the same flowing corridors, but this time the atmosphere was different. The aliens seemed more tense, their movements more abrupt. Welcome back, humans, Prime Speaker Vorthak said, but the musical quality in its voice was sharper now. Have you considered our generous offer? Ambassador Park Hana stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. We have considered your proposal carefully, Prime Speaker. The United Earth Council has reached a unanimous decision. The crystal being's internal lights shifted to brighter patterns. Excellent. The integration process can begin immediately. I am afraid there has been a misunderstanding, Parkhana said. Humanity respectfully declines membership in the Galactic Assembly. The silence that followed lasted almost a full minute. The three aliens looked at each other in what might have been confusion or disbelief. Declines? Sub-Commander Hexlar's scale shifted rapidly through colors that hurt to look at. That is impossible. No species has ever declined Assembly membership. We are the first, Parkhana replied calmly. Mind-Link Silthan's cloud form began to swirl more violently. You do not understand the consequences of this decision. Without our protection, your species will be extinct within cycles. Perhaps, Parkhana said. But we will be extinct as free beings, not as slaves. Prime Speaker Vorthak's crystal body began to glow brighter and brighter. This is not acceptable. You are a primitive species making an emotional decision based on outdated concepts. We will give you one more chance to reconsider. Captain Lee Jun stepped beside Ambassador Park. Hana, our answer will not change. Humanity chooses to forge our own path among the stars. The alien beings exchanged more looks. Finally, Vorthak spoke again, and this time there was no musical quality in its voice at all. Very well. By the authority of the Galactic Assembly, humanity is hereby declared a rogue species. You have one solar cycle to reverse your decision and submit to proper integration. If you refuse, the Assembly will have no choice but to eliminate the threat you represent to galactic order. We understand, Ambassador Parkhana said. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Sub-Commander Hexlar called out one final warning. War Commander Glextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The massive vessel was 10 kilometers long and packed with enough firepower to crack a planet in half. Around it, 199 other dreadnoughts moved in perfect formation, through the darkness between stars. The hegemony warrior was confident this would be the shortest campaign in Assembly history. His 4 arms worked the command controls with practiced ease while his scaled hide shifted to the deep red color that meant anticipated victory. How much longer until we reach the human system? Glextar asked his navigation officer. 6 more hours, War Commander. Our scouts report the humans have detected our approach and are moving their primitive vessels into defensive positions. Glextar's hide rippled with what passed for laughter among his species. Defensive positions, as if their crude ships could defend against the might of the Assembly. Behind him, his tactical officer brought up displays showing the human fleet. The alien computers had analyzed every ship Earth possessed: nuclear engines, chemical rockets, metal armor plates. The most advanced human vessel was barely equal to an Assembly patrol craft. War Commander, the tactical officer reported, intelligence estimates the entire human military can be eliminated in less than 4 hours. Their largest vessels appear to be carrying primitive fusion weapons. Fusion weapons? Glextar shook his massive head. How charmingly primitive. Our shields will absorb their entire arsenal without strain. The subjugation fleet continued toward Earth's solar system, while Glexitar reviewed the standard protocol for dealing with rogue species. First, destroy their military forces completely. Second, eliminate their major population centers to break their will to fight. Third, accept their inevitable surrender and begin proper integration procedures. No species had ever required more than the first step. On Earth, Admiral Song Yi stood in the war room deep beneath the Korean peninsula. The underground facility had been built during the Unification Wars and expanded over decades as humanity prepared for this exact scenario. Admiral, long-range sensors confirmed 200 alien dreadnoughts approaching from the outer system, reported Lieutenant Colonel Bei Min. Estimated time to engagement, 6 hours. Admiral Song Yi studied the tactical displays. The alien fleet was massive, but it was moving in a predictable formation. Whoever commanded it was either very confident or very stupid. She hoped it was both. Activate Protocol Prometheus, she ordered. Send the signal to all deep space installations. Across the solar system, hidden bases that had waited decades for this moment came online. Admiral Song Yi's predecessor had learned from human history. Every successful defense against superior forces had relied on preparation, deception, and the willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. The first contact came at the edge of Pluto's orbit. Captain Lim Da commanded a squadron of 12 human vessels that looked like standard patrol craft. The aliens detected them immediately and moved to intercept. "Human vessels, you will surrender immediately, or be destroyed," came the transmission from the alien fleet. Captain Lim Da's response was simple: "Come and take us." The alien vanguard consisted of 20 ships, each one larger and more powerful than the entire human squadron. Their energy weapons reached across space and struck the human vessels with devastating force. But the human ships did not die as easily as expected. "Impossible," muttered the alien commander as the human vessels absorbed hits that should have vaporized them instantly. "How are their shields holding?" The truth was that the human ships had no energy shields at all. Instead, they were armored with layers of different metals, ceramics, and composites. The alien weapons were designed to overload shield generators, not punch through crude physical armor. Captain Lim Da grinned as his ship shook under alien fire. "Engineering, how are we holding up?" "Armor is down to 60%, but all systems are functional," Engineer Osu reported. "These alien weapons hit hard, but they are designed wrong for fighting ships like ours." The human squadron began their counterattack. Their weapons were primitive by alien standards, but they worked. Nuclear missiles, kinetic rounds, and focused particle beams struck the alien ships. The aliens' shields absorbed most of the damage, but some shots got through. More importantly, the human ships were faster and more maneuverable than expected. They darted between the larger alien vessels like fighter aircraft, too quick for the massive weapons to track effectively. The first alien ship died when Captain Lim Da's vessel rammed a spread of nuclear warheads directly into its engine section. The explosion lit up space for millions of kilometers. "How?" the alien vanguard commander demanded as his formation fell back. "Their technology is inferior. This should not be possible." The answer was simple. The aliens fought like civilized beings who had known only easy victories for millennia. The humans fought like desperate animals with nothing to lose. War Commander Glextar watched the engagement from his flagship with growing irritation. The vanguard should have swept aside the human patrol craft in minutes. Instead, they were locked in a running battle that had already cost 3 alien ships. "Order the vanguard to fall back," he commanded. "We will deal with these humans ourselves." The subjugation fleet moved deeper into the solar system, their sensors scanning for the main human force. They found it near Jupiter. 40 human vessels arranged in a defensive formation around the gas giant's moons. "Finally," Glextar said, "their entire fleet in one place. We will end this quickly." But Admiral Song Yi had no intention of fighting a conventional battle. As the alien fleet approached Jupiter, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some fled toward the inner system, others toward the asteroid belt, still others toward the outer planets. "Cowards," Glextar snarled. "They run instead of fighting with honor." His tactical officer was less certain. "War Commander, this could be a trap. Human military history shows they favor ambush tactics and unconventional warfare. Against primitive species, perhaps. But we are the assembly. Our technology is supreme." The alien fleet split into smaller groups to pursue the fleeing human vessels. This was exactly what Admiral Song Yi had hoped they would do. The first surprise came when the alien ships pursuing human vessels toward the asteroid belt suddenly found themselves in a minefield. The asteroids themselves had been hollow, packed with nuclear explosives and programmed to detonate when alien ships came too close. The second surprise came when fleeing human vessels suddenly turned around and attacked. Ships that had appeared to be running in panic revealed themselves to be heavily armed and ready for battle. Engineer Chief Nam Jun watched from his command ship as alien vessels stumbled into trap after trap. "How are they this bad at warfare?" he asked his second in command. "They have been winning easy battles for too long," Lieutenant Park Tae replied. "They forgot how to fight an enemy that does not follow their rules." The running battle continued for hours. The aliens had superior firepower and technology, but the humans had prepared the battlefield. Every moon, asteroid, and piece of space debris had been turned into a potential weapon or hiding place. Captain Ryuji led a squadron of human ships disguised as cargo vessels. When alien ships moved to intercept what they thought were fleeing civilians, they discovered too late that the cargo holds were packed with antimatter charges. "For Earth!" Captain Ryuji shouted as her ship detonated, taking 2 alien dreadnoughts with it. War Commander Glextar found himself facing something he had never encountered in centuries of warfare. An enemy that refused to be defeated. Every time his forces destroyed human ships, more appeared from hiding places throughout the system. Every victory came at a cost that grew heavier with each engagement. "War Commander," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving a message from the human admiral." "Put it through." Admiral Song Yi's image appeared on the main screen. She was an older human female with gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice was strong. "War Commander Glextar of the Hegemony," she said. "You have entered our system with hostile intent. You have attacked our vessels and threatened our people. We offer you one chance to withdraw peacefully." Glextar's hide turned the deep black of rage. "You dare make demands? Your pathetic fleet is being destroyed even as we speak." "Yes," Admiral Song Yi replied calmly, "and so is yours. The question is, which of us can afford to lose more ships?" The war commander looked at his tactical displays. In 6 hours of fighting, the humans had lost 37 vessels. His fleet had lost 43, including several dreadnoughts that were supposed to be invincible. "This changes nothing," Glexter said. "We will crush your resistance and proceed with your species integration into the assembly. Then you have chosen the hard path," Admiral Song Yi said. "Very well. Let me show you what humans do when someone threatens our home." The transmission ended, and new contacts began appearing on the alien sensors. Hidden bases throughout the solar system were coming online. Weapons platforms that had masqueraded as asteroids for decades revealed themselves. Defense stations built into the moons of every planet began launching missiles. War Commander Glextar realized with growing horror that the humans had turned their entire solar system into one massive fortress. Every piece of rock and ice had been weaponized. Every hiding place concealed more surprises. "Sir," his tactical officer asked. The battle for the solar system entered its second day with neither side able to claim victory. War Commander Glextar had expected to be reporting a successful conquest by now. Instead, he found himself trapped in the kind of grinding warfare his species had not experienced since their own primitive era. Captain Lim Da was leading what appeared to be a group of fleeing refugee ships toward Mars when the alien pursuit squadron caught up with them. The 12 vessels looked helpless, broadcasting distress signals and requests for mercy. "Human ships, you will halt immediately and prepare to be boarded," transmitted the alien squadron leader. Captain Lim Da's response came through tears and static, perfectly mimicking a terrified civilian. "Please, we surrender. We have families aboard, children. Please do not hurt us." The alien ships moved closer, their weapons powered down to avoid accidentally destroying the surrendering humans. This was exactly what Captain Lim Da had been hoping for. "Now," she whispered into her communicator. The 12 human vessels simultaneously ejected their outer hulls, revealing the massive antimatter charges packed inside each ship. The fake refugee fleet was actually a squadron of flying bombs, designed to look helpless until the last possible moment. The explosions could be seen from Earth. 6 alien ships died instantly, while the others were badly damaged by the coordinated detonation. Captain Lim Da and her crews died as well, but they had eliminated an entire alien squadron through pure deception. War Commander Glextar watched the tactical display with growing frustration. How many more tricks do these humans have? His answer came an hour later when alien ships pursuing human forces through the asteroid belt suddenly found their sensors being jammed by unknown technology. The humans had hidden signal broadcasters throughout the belt, creating a maze of false readings and electronic interference. In the confusion, human attack ships struck from ambush, then vanished back into the sensor shadows before the aliens could respond effectively. It was like fighting ghosts that could appear and disappear at will. Dr. Bay's son worked frantically in her laboratory on Mars, coordinating humanity's electronic warfare efforts. She had spent decades studying captured alien technology, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. The alien ships communicate using quantum entanglement networks, she explained to her team of technicians. Their security is nearly perfect, but it has one flaw. The system assumes all connected devices are trustworthy. Lieutenant Kim Hwa, her communications specialist, looked confused. What does that mean for us? It means we can introduce a virus into their network, Dr. Bae-sun replied with a dangerous smile. Human computer viruses are crude compared to their systems, but sometimes crude tools work best. The plan was risky beyond measure. A human strike team would have to board an alien ship, access their computer network, and upload a virus designed to spread through the quantum communication system. If it worked, they could disrupt the entire alien fleet. If it failed, the strike team would die horribly. Colonel Oh-min volunteered to lead the boarding mission. He was a veteran of the corporate wars that had preceded Earth's unification, experienced in the kind of desperate tactics the mission would require. "Sir," said Sergeant Park Da as they prepared their equipment, "the alien ship we are targeting has over 3,000 crew members. We have 20 people. Then we better be 20 times smarter than they are," Colonel Oh-min replied. The boarding mission launched from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. The human assault ship was designed to look like floating debris, invisible to alien sensors until it was too late to stop it. The target was a damaged alien cruiser that had fallen behind the main fleet. Its shields were down for repairs, making it vulnerable to boarding. Colonel Oh-min's team used magnetic clamps and cutting torches to breach the hull, entering the ship through its waste disposal systems. The interior of the alien vessel was like nothing the humans had ever seen. Corridors that curved in impossible directions, gravity that changed from surface to surface, air that glowed with its own light. But Colonel Oh-min kept his team focused on their mission. "Remember, we are not here to explore," he whispered into his communicator. "Find the computer core, upload the virus, get out." The alien crew was not prepared for boarders. Their ship designs assumed that any enemy would announce their presence and fight honorably. The idea of infiltrators crawling through maintenance shafts was completely foreign to them. Sergeant Park Da and her squad eliminated alien guards, using silent weapons and stealth tactics. The aliens fell one by one, never realizing their ship had been invaded until it was too late. Colonel Oh-min reached the computer core first. It was a crystalline structure the size of a building, pulsing with energy and information. Dr. Bae-sun's virus was stored on a simple data chip that looked pathetic compared to the alien technology. "Sometimes the simplest tools are the most effective," he muttered as he connected the chip to an access port. The virus began uploading immediately. It was designed to look like routine maintenance data, invisible to the alien security systems until it was fully integrated into their network. Once activated, it would spread to every connected ship, causing random system failures and communication breakdowns. The upload completed just as alien security forces discovered the human infiltrators. Colonel Oh-min's team fought their way back to their insertion point, leaving explosive charges behind them. They escaped just as the alien cruiser's computer systems began experiencing mysterious malfunctions. Within hours, the virus had spread to half the alien fleet. Ships found themselves unable to coordinate attacks, their targeting systems failed at critical moments, and their communications became unreliable. The perfect assembly war machine was breaking down from within. War Commander Glextar experienced the effects firsthand when his flagship's weapons misfired during a critical engagement, allowing human ships to escape what should have been certain destruction. "What is happening to our systems?" he demanded of his technical staff. "Unknown, War Commander. All our diagnostic programs report normal operation, but systems are failing randomly throughout the fleet." Engineer Chief Nam Jun watched the alien confusion from his command ship with satisfaction. "Dr. Bae-sun, your virus is working perfectly. The alien fleet is tearing itself apart, but the humans were not content to rely on electronic warfare alone. The real turning point came when Dr. Young A made a breakthrough in understanding alien shield technology. She had been studying captured alien equipment in her laboratory on Luna, when she noticed something interesting. The energy shields that protected alien ships were nearly impervious to direct energy weapons, but they had an unexpected vulnerability. The shields are designed to repel high-energy attacks, she explained to Admiral Song Yi during a secure communication. But they are actually disrupted by low-frequency electromagnetic radiation. What kind of low-frequency radiation? Admiral Song Yi asked. The kind that human electronics naturally produce as interference. What we see as crude static is actually their shield's greatest weakness. The implications were staggering. Every human ship naturally produced the exact type of radiation that could disrupt alien shields. They just needed to amplify it and focus it correctly. Within days, human engineers had modified their ship's electronic systems to act as giant interference generators. The crude human technology that the aliens had dismissed as primitive suddenly became their most dangerous weapon. The first test came when Captain Ryuji led an attack against a damaged alien battleship. Her squadron approached with all their modified electronics running at maximum power. The alien ship's shields flickered and failed, just as the human weapons reached optimal range. Target their engines, Captain Ryuji ordered. No shields means no protection. The alien battleship died quickly under concentrated human fire. Its death sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. For the first time in 50,000 years, assembly shields had failed against primitive weapons. War Commander Glextar received the news with disbelief. Impossible. Our shields are impervious to their crude weapons. Not anymore, sir, his tactical officer replied quietly. Somehow they have found a way to disrupt our defensive systems. The tide of battle began to turn as human forces pressed their new advantage. Ships that had seemed invincible suddenly became vulnerable. Alien commanders who had never known defeat found themselves retreating from battles they should have won easily. But the humans paid a heavy price for their victories. Every engagement cost ships and lives that Earth could barely afford to lose. Admiral Song Yi watched her fleet shrink with each passing day, knowing that humanity's survival depended on making every sacrifice count. The most daring mission came when Captain Park Sun volunteered to lead an assault on the alien command ship itself. The Eternal Dominion was War Commander Glextar's flagship, the most powerful vessel in the alien fleet. "Sir, this is suicide," protested Lieutenant Colonel Bei Min when she heard about the mission. "Maybe," Captain Park Sun replied. "But if we can capture their flagship, we get access to all their military data. Battle plans, fleet positions, maybe even information about their home worlds." The assault team consisted of 50 humans in powered armor, launched from modified cargo containers that looked like space debris. They drifted silently toward the alien flagship, hoping to. The news of the colony destructions reached Earth 3 days after they happened. Mars Station Alpha, the beautiful dome cities of Europa, New Sol on Titan, and the mining outposts of Ceres. Gone. 17 million people dead in a matter of hours. War Commander Glextar had ordered the attacks to break human morale. In his experience, destroying civilian targets always forced primitive species to surrender quickly. He could not have been more wrong about humanity. President Cho Min stood before the cameras in the emergency broadcast center, her face grim but determined. Behind her, images of the destroyed colonies played on screens visible to every human being left alive. "Fellow citizens of Earth and her remaining colonies," she began, her voice carrying across the solar system. "Today we have seen the true face of the Galactic Assembly. They are not the civilized beings they claim to be. They are monsters who murder civilians to terrorize the living." The president paused, letting her words sink in. In bunkers and shelters across human space, people listened with tears in their eyes and rage in their hearts. "But they have made one critical mistake," President Cho Min continued. "They think this will make us surrender. They do not understand what they have just done. They have not broken our will to fight. They have given us a reason to fight harder than ever before." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Civilians donated everything they owned to the war effort. Children too young to fight worked in factories building weapons and ships. The Assembly's terror campaign had transformed humanity's defensive war into something far more dangerous, a war of vengeance. Colonel O-Min had survived the boarding mission that planted the virus in the alien fleet, and now he led something called the Retaliation Corps. These were human soldiers who specialized in the most dangerous missions possible, infiltrating alien ships and turning their own weapons against them. The aliens fight like they have always won easily, Colonel O-Min explained to his new recruits. They assume their enemies will behave predictably. This gives us advantages they cannot understand. Sergeant Park Da, now promoted after her survival of multiple boarding actions, nodded in agreement. We are smaller than most alien species, but that means we can go places they cannot follow. We are weaker individually, but we work together better than any species the Assembly has encountered. The first major Retaliation Corps operation targeted an alien supply convoy heading toward the battle zone. The convoy consisted of massive cargo ships protected by heavy escorts, carrying ammunition and fuel for the alien fleet. But the human attack did not come from outside. It came from within. 3 weeks earlier, human infiltrators had hidden aboard the cargo ships during their construction at an automated assembly factory. They had survived in improvised shelters built into cargo containers, eating stolen supplies and breathing recycled air, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When the convoy reached the outer solar system, the infiltrators emerged and began sabotaging the ships from inside. Explosions rippled through the cargo holds as ammunition stores detonated, fuel tanks ruptured and ignited, turning the massive ships into blazing torches visible from millions of kilometers away. The alien escort ships could only watch helplessly as their supply convoy destroyed itself from within. When they tried to board the remaining cargo ships to stop the sabotage, they found human soldiers waiting for them with weapons stolen from their own armories. Dr. Jung-A had made another breakthrough in her laboratory on Luna, one that would change the course of the war. She had been studying the quantum communication systems captured from alien ships when she discovered something remarkable. The aliens use quantum entanglement for instant communication across any distance, she explained to Admiral Song Yi. But the system has a weakness. If we can generate the right kind of interference, we can not only block their communications, we can actually coordinate all human ships simultaneously. The implications were staggering. While the alien fleet struggled with communication failures caused by the earlier virus attack, humanity could achieve perfect coordination across the entire solar system. How quickly can you build this system? Admiral Song Yi asked. The prototype is already working, Dr. Jung-A replied with a tired smile. I have been testing it for the past week. Every human ship in the system is now connected through quantum entanglement networks we built using salvaged alien technology. The first test of the new communication system came during the Battle of Saturn's Rings. War Commander Glextar had positioned his remaining forces among the ice and rock of the ring system, using the debris as cover while he waited for reinforcements. Admiral Song Yi coordinated the human attack from her flagship, but for the first time, she could communicate instantaneously with every ship in her fleet. Human vessels moved like a single organism, striking simultaneously from dozens of different directions. Captain Ryu Ji led the main assault force through a gap in the rings, her ships appearing suddenly from behind a cluster of ice boulders. At the exact same moment, Captain Lim Da's squadron attacked from the opposite direction, while Colonel O-Min's boarding teams launched from hidden positions throughout the ring system. The alien ships found themselves under attack from all sides, at once with no time to coordinate a defense. Their own communication systems were still unreliable due to the virus, while the humans moved with perfect precision. War Commander Glextar watched his carefully planned defensive position collapse. In minutes. How are they coordinating so perfectly? He demanded of his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. Our sensors detect no communication signals between human ships, but they are moving as if controlled by a single mind. The battle ended with the destruction of 30 alien ships and the capture of 12 others. More importantly, the captured vessels contained complete technical specifications for assembly military technology. Engineer Chief Nam Jun could barely contain his excitement as he studied the captured data. Admiral, with this information, we can build ships that match their technology. Not just weapons, but their engines, their shields, everything. How long? Admiral Song Yi asked. 6 months for the first new ships, if we convert every factory and shipyard in human space. Do it. But even as humanity began building better ships, the most important victory was happening on a much smaller scale. Dr. Yun-Su had been analyzing biological samples from captured alien crew members, and what she found changed everything they thought they knew about the Galactic Assembly. Admiral, I need to show you something, Dr. Yun-Su said during a secure communication from her laboratory. The alien species are not what they seem. What do you mean? I have genetic samples from 12 different assembly species. In every case, I found evidence of artificial modification. These beings have been genetically engineered for thousands of years, bred to be specialists in their assigned roles. Admiral Song Yi frowned. We knew they were specialized. The assembly told us that much. But this goes deeper than specialization, Dr. Yun-Su continued. They have been modified to be psychologically dependent on the assembly's command structure. They literally cannot think independently anymore. Most of them would die of stress if they tried to make decisions on their own. The implications were enormous. The Galactic Assembly was not a coalition of willing allies. It was a machine that turned free species into biological components, each designed for a specific function. There is more, Dr. Yun-Su said quietly. I found suppressed genetic markers in every sample, traces of what these species were like before the assembly modified them. Some of them were originally as creative and independent as humans are now. Admiral Song Yi felt a chill run down her spine. You are saying the assembly could do this to us? If we had accepted their treaty, yes. Within a few generations, humanity would have been reduced to just another set of biological tools. The knowledge that they had avoided such a fate by pure luck gave the human resistance new determination. This was not just a war for survival anymore. It was a war to prevent humanity from becoming something that was no longer truly human. The tide of battle truly turned when the first new human ships rolled out of the shipyards. These vessels combined human engineering with captured alien technology, creating something neither species could have built alone. Captain Li Su commanded the first of the new ships, a vessel named Freedom's Price. It looked like a human design from the outside, but its interior hummed with alien technology that human engineers had modified and improved. All systems are functioning perfectly, reported Engineer Lieutenant Park Jin. The fusion reactors are producing twice the power of our old ships, and the new shield generators are holding steady. Captain Li Su nodded with satisfaction. Then let us see how well these improvements work in battle. The test came sooner than expected. Assembly reinforcements had arrived in the outer system, led by a massive command ship that dwarfed anything humanity had seen before. This was the Core Fleet, the Assembly's ultimate military force, but the Core Fleet found themselves facing an enemy that had evolved during months of brutal warfare. The humans who met them in battle were no longer the primitive species that had first rejected the Assembly's treaty. They were hardened warriors who had learned to use every advantage available to them. 2 years after humanity first rejected the Galactic Assembly's treaty, the war had spread across dozens of star systems. What began as Earth's desperate fight for survival had become something the galaxy had never seen before. A revolution that freed entire species from millennia of slavery. Ambassador Seo Ra stood on the bridge of the liberation ship New Hope as it approached Kethmari Prime. The ocean world had been one of the first targets for humanity's Operation Liberation, chosen because intelligence suggested the aquatic species still retained some memory of their original culture. Ambassador, we are receiving a response from the planet, reported Communications Officer Kim Bo. They are asking who we are and what we want. Seo Ra smiled. After months of liberating assembly worlds where the slave species were too damaged to even ask questions, it was refreshing to encounter beings who still had curiosity. Tell them we are humans from Earth, and we are here to offer them something the assembly never did. A choice. The response came quickly, filled with confusion and disbelief. Choice? We do not understand this concept. Please explain your intentions toward our world. Seo Ra's smile faded as she realized how thoroughly the assembly had broken these people. Patch me through to their communication systems. I need to speak directly to their leaders. The conversation that followed changed the course of galactic history. For the first time in 800 years, the Kethamari heard someone offer them freedom instead of demanding their service. "We remember stories," said Elder Kethna, the oldest surviving member of their species. "Stories our ancestors told of swimming freely in oceans that belonged to no master. But these are just dreams from the past." "They do not have to be," Ambassador Seora replied gently. "We can help you remember what you used to be. We can help you become free again." The liberation of Kethmari Prime took 6 months, not because of military resistance, but because the Kethmari had to relearn how to make their own decisions. Generations of genetic modification and psychological conditioning had to be carefully reversed. Dr. Yunsu worked with Kethmari scientists to develop treatments that could restore their species' original independence. The process was delicate and dangerous, but for those who survived it, the results were remarkable. "I remember now," said Kethna after her treatment. "I remember what it felt like to choose my own path through the water. I had forgotten that such a thing was possible." The Kethamari became humanity's first true allies in the war against the Assembly. Their knowledge of underwater operations and their fierce determination to never be enslaved again made them valuable partners in liberating other worlds. But the real breakthrough came when Captain Park Min discovered the resistance network during a raid on an Assembly communications hub. Hidden within the quantum communication systems were secret messages between enslaved species across the galaxy. "Admiral, you need to see this," Captain Park Min reported from the captured facility. "There are rebellion movements on dozens of Assembly worlds. They have been waiting for someone to help them, but they had no way to coordinate." Admiral Song Yi studied the intelligence reports with growing excitement. "How many species are involved?" "At least 40 that we can identify, possibly more. Some have been planning uprisings for centuries, but they lacked the military strength to succeed alone." The discovery of the resistance network changed humanity's entire strategy. Instead of fighting the Assembly directly, they began coordinating simultaneous rebellions across multiple star systems. The first major coordinated uprising began on Independence Day, a date chosen by President Cho Min to honor humanity's own Declaration of Freedom. At exactly the same moment, rebellion broke out on 17 different Assembly worlds. On Vextar Prime, the mining slaves who had spent millennia digging precious metals for their masters turned their industrial equipment into weapons and seized control of the planet's major cities. On Silnara, the agricultural workers who had been bred to tend the Assembly's food production facilities burned the fields and declared their world's independence. On dozens of other worlds, species that had been reduced to biological tools remembered what it meant to be free and fought to reclaim their heritage. The Assembly's response was swift and brutal. War Commander Glextar, now promoted to Supreme War Commander after his experience fighting humans, led punishment fleets to crush the rebellions. But the rebels were no longer fighting alone. Human advisors had trained them in guerrilla warfare tactics. Human weapons and technology had been secretly distributed to resistance cells. Most importantly, human ships arrived to support each rebellion, just as Assembly forces moved to crush them. The Battle of Vextar Prime became the symbol of the new galactic war. Supreme War Commander Glextar brought his most powerful fleet to reclaim the mining world, expecting to face primitive rebels armed with improvised weapons. Instead, he found a coordinated defense led by Colonel O Min and supported by the latest human military technology. The former slaves fought with the desperation of beings who knew that defeat meant extinction, while human forces provided the tactical expertise needed to turn desperation into victory. "These are not the same species we conquered centuries ago," Glextar reported to Assembly High Command after his fleet was forced to retreat. "They fight with human determination and human tactics. They have become dangerous." The Assembly's ruling council met in emergency session for the first time in millennia. Prime Speaker Vorthak's crystal body pulsed with agitated patterns as it addressed the gathered representatives. "The human contamination is spreading faster than we can contain. Vorthak reported, Every species they liberate becomes a source of rebellion for others. Their concepts of individual freedom and voluntary cooperation are destroying the order we have maintained for 50,000 years. Sub-Commander Hexlar's scales shifted through nervous colors. Perhaps we should negotiate with the humans, offer them territory in exchange for ending their liberation campaigns. The suggestion triggered outraged responses from around the council chamber. The idea of negotiating with a species they had once intended to enslave was unthinkable to most. Assembly members. "We do not negotiate with rogue species," declared MindLink Silthan, its cloud form swirling angrily. "We bring them order or we eliminate them completely." But privately, many assembly leaders were beginning to worry. Their military forces were stretched thin across dozens of rebellious worlds. Their economy was collapsing as slave species stopped producing goods for their masters. Most terrifying of all, some assembly member species were beginning to question whether their own submission had been worthwhile. The turning point came when Dr. Jung A's team achieved their greatest breakthrough. They learned how to reverse the genetic modifications the assembly had imposed on enslaved species. "The process is complex and dangerous," Dr. Jung A explained to the Galactic Liberation Council, humanity's new alliance of free species. "But we can restore the original genetics and psychology of any species the assembly has modified. They can become what they were meant to be." The implications were staggering. Every enslaved species in the galaxy could potentially be restored to their original state of independence and creativity. The assembly's greatest weapon, their ability to turn free beings into willing slaves, could be undone. The final phase of the war began when Admiral Song Yi launched Operation Final Freedom, a coordinated assault on the assembly's core worlds. But this was not a conquest. It was a liberation of the assembly's member species themselves. The fleet that approached Assembly Central consisted of ships from 43 different liberated species, all working together under human coordination. The diversity was staggering. Crystal beings like the Assembly's original species, energy creatures that existed as pure thought, mechanical races that had been built rather than born, and dozens of others. "All ships, this is Admiral Song Yi," she broadcast to the massive fleet. "Today we end 50,000 years of slavery. Today we give every being in the galaxy the right to choose their own future." The battle for Assembly Central was the largest space engagement in recorded galactic history. The Assembly threw everything they had at the Liberation Fleet, including ancient weapons that had not been used since their original conquest of the galaxy. But they faced an enemy they could not understand or defeat, beings fighting for the freedom to be themselves. Captain Li Jun commanded the human flagship Freedom's Call as it broke through the Assembly's outer defenses. Around him, liberated species fought with tactics their former masters had never imagined possible. The Kethmari used their swimming tactics in three-dimensional space battles, flowing around enemy formations like water around rocks. The Vextari, miners used their industrial expertise to turn asteroids into kinetic weapons. The Silnara agriculturalists had become expert at biological warfare, using engineered organisms to disable enemy ships. Each species contributed something unique to the battle, creating a symphony of different fighting styles that the rigid assembly forces could not counter effectively. The climactic moment came when Captain Ryuji led a boarding action against the Assembly's ultimate command ship. Her target was not the ship itself, but Prime Speaker Vorthak and the ruling council that had enslaved the galaxy for millennia. The battle through the command ship's corridors was fire,